on Indianapolis This Week. He's looking to replace Mike Pence as governor. Our Sunday morning exclusive with Democrat John Gregg. Plus the battle over police body cameras. Why some state lawmakers think you shouldn't be able to see the video for yourself. And our Sunday spotlight, the new leader of the IPS school board on her frustration with the change so far and the road ahead for the district.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Thank you so much for joining us for Indianapolis This Week. Let's get right into the discussion today, starting with the race for governor. This week, our first chance to see Governor Mike Pence and Democrat John Gregg sharing the same stage. Happened Thursday. Both men spelling out early versions of their campaign plans going forward. Gregg promising to put pragmatism over divisive social issues if elected. Let's welcome in now Democratic candidate for Governor John Gregg. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. Great to see you. You are, of course, supporting equal rights protections for the LGBT community. 4 years ago, though, you were opposed to same-sex marriage. What's changed?
You know, a lot of things have changed. I think when you look back, the argument I think most people look at now, it's economic, it's a Supreme Court ruling, and when you look at it as discrimination, I think that causes everybody from current and past presidents, U.S. senators, and obviously the majority of the American people. And it's a pretty easy process to fix, and we just need to add to our civil rights statute in Indiana 4 words and a comma, and that takes care of this, and we can move on because it's done a lot of damage to our reputation and economic hurt.
There are 2 Republican bills in the Senate right now that both fall short of that. If you were governor and one of those were to pass, would you veto it?
You know, if I were governor, I wouldn't have signed the original law. That's one thing a leader does. A leader steps up when there are certain controversial issues moving through the General Assembly. You have to be recognizable of their separate branch of government, but you get involved and you talk and you try to work through some of those things. Again, I think the only way you solve this problem is by adding the 4 words and the comma to to our state civil rights statute.
Let's talk about the campaign itself for a second. The National Journal a couple weeks ago said that you've kept a low profile so far, acknowledging how close this race could be into 2016. Is that accurate? And is that part of your strategy?
Well, I'm a pretty low-profile guy. You know, there's no secret strategy on it. Last year, we spent a lot of our efforts going around the state, meeting with what I call Lugar Republicans, those Mitch Daniel Republicans, those moderates, to try to find out how they felt about this administration and the lack of leadership. And as the year progressed, of course, focus was on the mayor's race. Right now, the focus is on the legislature, and we will do just like we did in 2012. We're around the state now, but we will start releasing after the session our policies on a wide variety of issues. But we're working real hard. We're enthused from what we're hearing, and again, that moderate Republican voter, they're really disappointed in the current administration. They just don't see that vision, that leadership. They don't see a team that's inclusive, and I think that's what they miss.
Let's talk about the economy for a second here. The economy's improved across the country over the past 3 years. It's improved in the state of Indiana. Governor Mike Pence saying it's improved drastically here, touting during the State of the State address 139,000 net new jobs. Is Indiana's economy better under Mike Pence than it would be under John Gregg?
Well, you know, I want to quote from my good friend and former Republican State Chairman Eric Holcomb, who just this very week in a debate with the U.S. Senate candidates said that as he travels around the state, he's not hearing that the economy is really getting better. And I agree with him. The unemployment numbers may cut, but I go back to Governor Daniels, who made a comment, we need to focus on better paying jobs. The truth of the matter is in 2 facts, in 2 widely accepted facts. Number 1 is you got to look at the per capita income. The truth of the matter is our per capita income continues to slide, and it's slid more since Governor Pence has been in office. We're now 39th in the nation in per capita income, so Hoosiers are working harder and earning less. And the other thing is our GDP. Out of all the states in the Midwest, including Kentucky, we ranked last in growth last year, 0.4%. We were not only behind Kentucky, but even Illinois and Michigan, with all of their myriad of problems we hear about, we were behind them. So the numbers do not tell the whole story.
What would you do differently, specifically, to improve the economy.
Absolutely. I would like to reverse something in Indiana that we've been on for about 25 or 30 years. With no disrespect to any of the former previous governors, we started focusing on the number of jobs created. I'd rather focus on the quality of the jobs, that ability for those jobs to pay enough money to support a family, rather than stand in front of a facility and say we've just created 180 jobs that are going to pay $12 an hour. I'd rather stand with someone and say we've created 40 jobs that are paying, $65,000, $70,000 an hour.
Let's talk about infrastructure improvements. Republicans and the governor right now split on that. Republican leadership looking to increase the gas and cigarette tax. The governor partially looking to dip into the state's reserves. What would you do?
We set forth a plan in the summer of 2012, a comprehensive plan for our infrastructure. My infrastructure program, which we will release after the session, our infrastructure program will agree in part with the 4 legislative caucuses and disagree with the governor. He just proposed money and an opportunity for state roads. Over 66% of our roads and bridges in Indiana belong to city, town, and county. They've got to be addressed too, because those are funded through monies the state collect. So I would include all levels of government. Also, when we're talking infrastructure, we've got to remember rail, mass transit, ports, airports. We need to talk about cell tower coverage and broadband, something that a lot of Hoosiers don't realize not everybody has access to.
So you would be open to a potential tax increase somewhere along the line?
What I would be open to is, I'll say this, I am very upset that the governor just summarily pushed aside Brian Bosma, Speaker Bosma's proposal. I've served with Speaker Bosma. I know he's very sincere. I don't have the complete access to some of the detail of the numbers they've got, but I think as governor, what I again would do, I'd have leaders in, we'd make a plan looking down there, something like a 10 or 15-year plan at all levels of government, and we'd have to talk about what's on the table. And you hear all kinds of topics in states. States are talking about everything from fee increases to gas tax increases to tolling. I'm not saying I would support any of them, or what I would do is have that discussion and see what that generates.
Democratic candidate for Governor John Gregg, thanks so much for being here this morning. Great to see you as always. Come back again soon.
Thank you.
Coming up, bringing change to Indianapolis public schools. Our Sunday spotlight on the new president of the IPS School Board is next. You're watching Indianapolis This Week, only on RTV6. Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week as we turn our Sunday spotlight to Indianapolis Public Schools, and specifically to a new president for the IPS School Board. Mary Ann Sullivan, a former state lawmaker and a champion of school reform, elected to that position. So what should we expect from the district? Rafael Sanchez has that.
What will be your vision as now the leader of this group of commissioners?
Well, it's not so much about my vision, but about the vision of this board and of this district. And we're actually very proud of the strategic plan that we just recently approved, and that pretty much summarizes what our vision will be. A lot of the work of the past year has been in laying the foundation, having lots of community meetings, getting input from all of our stakeholders. But we have that now. So I think
have it with you.
Yeah, I do actually have it with me. And so I think, anyone who is really curious about the direction of this district, it's all here. It has, it's laid out in great detail with measurable outcomes.
So how are you going to move forward? We often hear about moving the district forward, and the district has made some improvements. But how do you move it forward, because you're still lagging on test scores, both in math and reading? You know that. So how do you move this train down that path?
This is a roadmap. Train tracks, roadmap, however you want to describe it. It is our belief that if we do implement this plan with integrity, we will see those kinds of changes.
But give me an idea, because for the folks who have not read it, and I have read the plan, what do you hope to put on that track so that, that train
Well, we're doing some big overarching things. We're pushing decision-making down to our school level, to our school communities, versus the central office. We're trying to streamline and make our central office much more efficient so that we can push more resources to our schools.
You've been frustrated with change. You've said it's been slow. So will you be speeding that up?
I'm a very impatient person by nature, and it's actually been a wonderful experience to be on this board and kind of balance a sense of urgency with changing things, really important things for kids, with also having processes that do involve all of our stakeholders. So we need to have all those meetings. We need to hear from everyone who's impacted by the decisions we make and by the work of our district. And I think we've done a good job of balancing those things. But now that we have the plan, I think that the timeline is kind of set for a lot of these changes. So maybe people will feel a little less uncertain about what's ahead because they can follow along and see. This doesn't mean that everything is going to be set and we're not going to have hiccups. We're not going to have bumps in the road and things won't arise that we'll have to react to. But we basically have a course. We have a great leader who's leading us on that course, and Dr. Farabee, so that's what I look forward to doing.
Is it about test scores? Is it about improving school attitudes? What do you...
Keep going, yes. It's about all of those things. So, and really to evaluate whether we're doing our job in terms of what we expect from our schools and what we hope for our children, we have to look at multiple measures. We have to look at all kinds of things. And it's my hope that IPS will become a leader statewide in helping communities better understand how to evaluate the quality of their schools, not looking just at one test score.
IPS has embraced the idea of charter schools in its own way. Some critics say, look, either you're public, but you can't have public and charter. This superintendent has said, look, I'm not even going to have that argument.
Right.
We're going to move forward with innovating schools. Do you see it the same way?
I do, yeah, because our work is about children. It's about educating the children in our community. We can have lots of partners in that effort. We have an obligation, but others have made a great effort. And so to the extent we can partner, collaborate, work together, I think collaboration is much more productive than bickering and battling, especially when it's about the success of our kids.
But some people will say, look, you can't have it both ways. You know, either you're a public school system, but you can't have these private entities or these other entities coming in and saying that they can do it better than.
Well, the entities that we're partnering with are all partnering with us on a contract that we are holding them accountable for. So the buck stops with us on those partnerships. So we're not shirking our responsibility in any way to monitoring for quality and making sure that these partners are doing what they said they're going to do.
When I come back a year from now and have the same interview with you in this very spot, where do you want to be? I know there's a strategic plan in your hand, but what do you hope to say on my checklist during my first year of service as head of this board? I can say, you know, we're there. Where would you like to be?
I do want to start seeing in some of our schools where we have partnered with outside entities that we're seeing results, that we're seeing kids doing better on academic measures, that we're seeing better behavior, that we're having fewer suspensions, expulsions, that we have more kids graduating without waivers, that we're getting feedback that our kids are better prepared for college. So there's a lot of things that I will look at to know if we're making progress. And we're not going to get there overnight. We know that. We have a heavy, heavy lift in front of us.
Well, we'll see you before 2017.
Yes.
But I do look forward to talking to you a year from now in this very location to see where we are from year to year.
It's a date.
Best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks very
so
much.
And thank you for joining us this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Our thanks to Rafael and Marianne Sullivan. Coming up, they're intended to increase transparency in local police departments. So why do some Indiana lawmakers want to keep police body camera videos secret so you never see them? We tackle that next. You're watching Indianapolis This Week on RTV6. Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. There is a battle brewing at the State House over police body cameras and your right to see what they record. The push around the country and Indiana has been to add those cameras, providing an extra level of clarity about police action. So why do some state lawmakers want those videos to remain private in the Hoosier State? Call 6 Investigates' Paris Lubell is working on that for us.
Dash cam recordings like this one were used to charge a Chicago police officer with murder. And this one, released by IMPD to show the public what happened during a police shooting in April of 2015. But under a new bill, those videos may have never seen the light of day.
It's really sort of a secret government video bill, and really that's really going to impede the public's right to know.
House Bill 1019 was created to provide guidelines for how police departments handle recordings from body cameras, an untouched but highly controversial topic between police departments and the public. But the bill doesn't stop there. In its current form, it would prevent you or us, a media organization, from ever seeing that video. The bill is authored by Representatives Kevin Mahan, John Price, Sharon Nagel, and Ed Delaney, and it was unanimously passed in a House committee and is now on the floor. And now, with good chances of it passing in the House, it's something that Indiana's Association of Broadcasters, which RTV6 is a member of, says is the complete opposite of police transparency.
It completely moves the wrong direction. It is a secret government sort of proposal as opposed to something that's open.
Delaney, who has fought for civil liberties in the past, says there is some work to be done.
I think the bill is headed in the right direction. There are some very important issues about, where you go if you're the press and you want access, and who decides and under what standard. And we're working on those things. I think there's a lot of progress on it. So I think everybody needs just to relax a little bit about it, let the process work.
According to the bill, a department could choose to release the video on their own, but if they don't, there's no recourse under public record laws.
So we view this as publicly funded cameras, publicly funded storage systems. There has to be a process, just as there is with any public record.
According to the bill, the only course of action would be taking the issue in front of a judge, and that person would have to prove three things. First, public interest would be served by releasing the video. Second, releasing the video would not create a risk to anyone. And lastly, the release would not hamper the case in court. It would then be in the judge's hands to decide.
It's very important that the public have confidence that our officers will be wearing those cameras and using them. We're heading in the right direction.
Our thanks to Paris Lubell watching that. We'll continue to watch that story, and we welcome in our political insiders now, Mary Beth Schneider, Pete Seat, Adam Kirsch. Thanks for being here this morning. How y'all doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming back, as always. We heard from John Gregg earlier in the show, and I want to play a bit of the interview that we didn't get to hear earlier. His push to grab moderate Republicans, along with the undecided voters, to possibly win the race. Let's give a listen.
Governor Daniels was well respected by that moderate Republican, that voter we have to get. And a lot of them thought they were getting a third term of Governor Daniels, and they now realize they didn't. I want to make it clear, I've known Governor Pence for almost 35 years, and our differences are political, not personal. By no means am I saying that the governor's a bad person. I'm just saying he's not a good governor.
Something tells me that's not the last time we're going to hear that from John Gregg over the next few months. Adam, is that an argument that can help him?
Well, I think it is, and I need to say in the interest of disclosure, I am working with the state party on the governor's campaign. But absolutely, governor's races in Indiana are won and lost among the sort of silent middle. They're not strong Democrats, they're not strong Republicans. They voted for Mitch Daniels, they voted for Evan Bayh, they voted for Richard Lugar, and this time I think they're going to vote for John Gregg.
Pete, do we hear this often during the rest of the campaign?
I think you will, but what's interesting is you heard this in the interview here. In an interview he did with Matt Tully of the Indianapolis Star this week, John Gregg sounded a lot more progressive than he has in the past. So what's clear to me is the John Gregg of 2012 is dead and gone. May he rest in peace. You're going to see John Gregg say and do whatever he needs to win, short of maybe shaving the mustache.
You know where John Gregg learned that kind of line from was Mitch Daniels. He was really effective at that when he first ran for governor in saying that Joe Kernan and the Democrats, these are nice people. They've just done a miserable job of running state government. He would be just sweet as pie and then shiv it in, and it was incredibly effective. And I think that John Gregg has learned a lesson.
We'll see how that plays out in the ongoing governor's race. Back to the State House now. It's going to be a very busy week at the State House, and Pete, you said earlier you kind of wish it would just all go away now.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, there's these issues that I guess won't go away for various reasons, and as we've said before on this show, when it comes to civil rights and these issues that people are talking about, I think the sooner the better in getting these off the table so we can talk more about transportation, education, and other issues that people are really focused on.
Adam, the more we talk about these LGBT protections, the potential protections, RFRA, does that hurt Pence's campaign?
I think what hurts Pence's campaign is his refusal to take the simple fix, to turn the page, and to add 4 words in a Commodore civil rights statute. John Gregg is for it. Business community is for it. But Mike Pence is clearly not, as he said in his State of the State last 2 weeks ago.
Mary Beth, these bills getting hearings. Do you think any of them move forward?
I suspect something will. I think David Long, the president of the Senate, has been pretty clear that he wants to see something move forward. I think the trouble for all of them is that the sooner ship left the dock a long time ago. We're past sooner. The session only lasts until mid-March. We'll be coming up on the midway point. This is not going to be going. It'll be probably going on until the last day. It really will depend on what happens in the House, I think.
A minute left to go for us here on this Sunday morning. Turning our attention to the presidential race really quick. Donald Trump, Sarah Palin uniting forces. Good move by Trump, Adam?
Well, I feel sorry for my friend Pete. We've heard all summer that it was the summer of Trump and then the fall of Trump, and now we're into the next year of Trump. Trump is a phenomenon, and it's hard to predict where this goes.
Pete?
Yeah, I'd like a hug. Thank you for this. But, thanks, everyone. It feels loved. You know, one entertainer endorsing another entertainer. That's all I got.
Mary Beth, does it help him or hurt him? Does anything hurt him at this point?
Yeah, actually, I think if anybody who really likes it probably liked Trump already. Other people maybe aren't going to care about Sarah Palin, but I think any Democrat who's, oh, this is so wonderful, this is going to help us, I think they're crazy, because who knows anymore what's going to happen. They could end up with President Trump.
In Adam's defense, I didn't see his hands go wagging at the end. That was ad-lib. Thank you all for being here so much. As always, have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and you can stay up to date with all of our insiders and get news and updates every day of the week on our official Twitter account @ThisWeek.